Good morning. Welcome to the Public Improvement Commission hearing of January 30th, 2020. Our first item are the hearing minutes. At the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on January 16th, 2020. Any questions or comments on the minutes? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from January 16th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to the public hearing, our first item is on a petition by the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority for the making of specific repairs to the following locations in Boston proper, consisting of sidewalk reconstruction as well as new and relocated specialty pavement, storm drain infrastructure, bollards, and emergency flood barrier infrastructure. The locations are State Street on its northerly side, generally at address number 296 east of Atlantic Avenue, and State Street on the southerly side, generally at address numbers 177-185, generally between Atlantic Avenue and McKinley Square. This was new business on January 16th, 2020, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plan, Temporary Flood Barrier, State Street, Boston, 5 sheets, dated November 2019. Morning.
Good morning, thank you. Joe Guider, MBTA Project Manager. So we had some homework from the first hearing, so we'd like to report back on that.
Yep.
We were asked to coordinate with the BLC regarding...
So if you could be ever so kind and introduce the others that are with you.
Absolutely. Apologies.
Andre Martechini, Kleinfelder, the designers for the project.
Nasser Brahim from Kleinfelder as well.
Thank you. So we were asked to follow up with and coordinate with Boston Landmarks Commission regarding the specifically the design change, which would require that we'd be partially removing some of the granite sidewalk slabs. We met with Boston Landmarks on 128 this past Tuesday. They did not support that design change. They did not. They did not. So we had presented a third alternative, which we've looked a little bit further into, which would require a slight relocation of those granite slabs. We've looked into that a bit further and have decided not to pursue that alternative. So we'll be sticking with the original plan that is on the drawings, which requires that we anchor into those slabs.
And this is on the sort of City Hall side of Atlantic Avenue, the head house that is, right?
That's
Can you
correct.
mind, just as context for the board, and can you just walk us through that particular head house and the implications of not being able to remove the granite slabs between the building and the head house? Whether
Sure.
it's Andre or yourself.
Yeah. So this is on the south side of the station entrance. We have State Street up here, and the Marketplace Center would be up here. So we have the elevator, and we have a stairway that goes down into the station, and we'll have the barrier going around like this, and the existing historic stone blocks that are pavers that we'll be anchoring to are along here, right along. There's a building right here with a couple of entrances, and it'll be right along here. These 4 dots that you see are the posts. So they'll be anchored just near the edge of the stones.
And I'm going to talk about the path of travel that will remain between the flood barrier and the building face.
It's over 5 feet. I mean, so we have 5'9" to where the kind of the rougher blocks along the building. So there's another 2 feet. It's probably about 7'9" altogether.
But it is still flushed, right?
Yep. It's all sidewalk right now.
And what you're installing also will be in the end condition after you have installed, it will still remain.
Absolutely the same. Yes. There'll be no change to the sidewalk between the existing building and here. There'll be no change other than flush anchor bolts.
Sir, I forgot to mention this at the public new business. State Street is one of the cities and the Commonwealth's one of the most important streets. The neighborhoods are very passionate about what happens in this area. Did you get a chance to brief this to the Walk District Council? They are one of the most prominent neighborhood associations that are there that involve the Custom House Tower and the 2 tall buildings. Did you all give any presentations to those individuals by any chance?
There are two members of the Wharf District Council who are adjacent property owners, abutters. One being Carr Properties that owns Marketplace Center, and then some of the other owners or property managers in their building. That's across the street at Marketplace Center, and then also at Sunstone, the Marriott owners, because the projects were very close to them. So I know those two property owners are members of the Wharf District Council, but we
So
did not present to the whole
We
council.
both know that they are members of the council, but my question is, the council meets on a regular basis, I believe at least once a month. If one of us speaks to the president or the vice president of that neighborhood association or the council, what would they tell me about their knowledge about this project? So,
Yeah.
okay, because you are transforming, I mean, this is State Street for the, okay. All appreciate it. I'm not trying to influence the outcome of this, but it is needed that you touch base with them
Okay.
and make sure, and the concern I have is that they are not going to articulate a concern that is going to be in conflict with what you are asking us to, when I say us, this commission to approve,
Understood.
okay? So
We-
it's a
Yeah,
bit of homework you all need to do.
we'll do that, and to hear from them, obviously, because I'm sure that they're also concerned about the potential impact of Aquarium Station flooding as it directly affects their businesses and their employees and residents as well. So we'll look to hear from
And I
them.
think we'll also be certainly talking with them just because of construction logistics. So
Right,
I'm sure that,
because the conversation can be awkward if they hear that the commission approved this without their knowledge or without their engagement. So it's an outreach step.
Understood.
Okay?
You need contact information for Suzanne Lemoy or for.
I have
You have all,
relationships there.
so please help us. So what we may do is take a vote and not record this until you have reached out to them.
Okay, very good. The second item that we were requested to follow up with was coordination with city emergency services. We met,
Before we get to that, does any questions about the head house on the city hall side?
okay. We met on 121 with emergency services. We didn't have any objection to the design of the system, but the emphasis was on the coordination when a deployment was being done. And they wanted to make sure that notifications were made that were suitable. And we're going to work with those departments, EMS, Boston Fire, BPD, to make sure that we include in the SOP proper notifications to those departments.
And you met with those specific departments?
Yeah.
Boston Police, EMS,
We met with emergency management, EMS, various people from emergency management and EMS. I think that Boston Fire and police backed out of the meeting, or were not able to attend for
Police
some
and fire
reason.
were at the larger meeting and had the person who runs the emergency management center, because this is about how the MBTA's CAD system will coordinate with our CAD system. So the logistics of the approvals from the specifics of this design are okay with the fire and police, but the notion of how we're going to operate is primarily working through the Office of Emergency Management, and how we can just spread across all those systems at once rather than having to ping them individually.
I would just add on to that, though, that you should get in touch with the district commander, which is Captain Fong, just to give him a heads up. Because it's going to be his officers are going to be responding to this.
And he had sent somebody to our larger city coordination meeting that didn't have these guys, but he had a representative.
I can say
Yep.
another note is just that the members were, relative to, let's say, a private property owner, were confident in MBTA's ability to both engage the planning activities and emergency management activities required, and also to use existing relationships to notify them through transit police and things like that.
So we'll be continuing to coordinate with those folks to develop that SOP and make sure. Are there any more questions regarding that?
I should note, that SOP will be in a document that we will be recording as part of this. Is that right? That's a question.
So there will create a document that we will have. There will be a subset of that gets recorded as a part of the PIC document that should have that one cover page that has a lot of the relevant information that should also be the cover page of the SOP.
And that's to be developed, correct?
Right,
Hasn't been
yeah, so
developed yet?
that's in process, but like, that, whatever the first page is gonna be what I think marries the two documents together. And we can reference it, but I don't necessarily think you want us recording your
Yes.
emergency operating procedures.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, no.
If we want to go to the sort of harbor side of the head house?
Sure, so that's at the East Head House. We were requested to follow up on the renderings for the storage container. So we've provided you with a handout of a couple of renderings for what that's going to potentially look like, yet to be developed. We're in fact meeting this afternoon to identify the best means of collaborating with local artists to have that storage container decorated with some form of artwork.
Just for locating, you have some renderings there, but again, we have the escalator. This is the Marriott over here and State Street down here. We have the escalators and the stair part of that head house. Over here, we have the emergency egress coming out of the tunnel, the highway tunnel, and an elevator going down to the station. So the storage box will be tucked in this little square here, which is right now empty, basically.
Questions or comments on this? Other things you guys want to cover? Avi, any comments? All right, members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item contingent upon outreach to the Wharf District, notification of Captain Fong in the police department, and coordination around the SOP work going forward.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the petition by the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, the making of specific repairs in the following locations in Boston proper, consisting of sidewalk reconstruction as well as new and relocated specialty pavement, storm drain infrastructure, bollards, and emergency flood barrier infrastructure, as read into the record by the chair and is shown as a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division, specific repair temporary flood barriers, State Street, Boston, 5 sheets dated November 2019, with the caveat of meeting with the Wharf District, Captain Fong, and the police department.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next item, on a petition by 5 Washington Square owner LLC for the acceptance of pedestrian easement adjacent to the following public ways in Brighton. Washington Street on its northeasterly side at address numbers 3-7 southeast of Corey Road, and Corey Road on its southeasterly side northeast of Washington Street. This was new business on January 16th, 2019, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Pedestrian Easement Plan, Washington Street, City of Boston, 2 sheets dated December 19th, 2019.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Mel Schuman, legal counsel for the development team. With me today is
Matt Ferris,
Matt Ferris.
Development Team Ownership.
Mark Wickstead,
Bowler.
Ed Davis, Phil McPhail, and Guy Busa, Howard Stein Hudson. The next 3 petitions are all for this project, so just as a brief overview, it's a residential project with 108 units, with some retail on the ground level and parking on the ground level and 1 level below. The 3 petitions involve the grant of a pedestrian, grant of a pedestrian easement, specific repairs, and a temporary earth retention system. I've worked with Chung Lu to do the documents for this project. I think we've come to agreement on all of them. I have signed copies for him here. And I will then turn it over to, I think Mark will go first on the pedestrian easement, which is the petition first here.
This is the pedestrian easement plan. It's not changed since the last hearing. There's an easement along Washington Street and Corey Road. And then we also included for request the vertical limits at some of the entries to the building. That's all shown here. The least clearance is 11.3 over one of the entries.
Sarah, are you okay?
Should I go on to specific repairs?
Any questions on that easement?
I just wanted to state, I'm going to make the same statement for all three petitions that you have. So we know that you have a process in place with the legal department. I was told that we did sign documents for the easement agreement, but we just also wanted to state for the record, you did tell me the other day you do have ongoing coordination with the town of Brookline, but if there were issues with the town of Brookline, the whole project won't go through. So we just wanted to, just make the statement that, you still have the ongoing coordination with the town of Brookline for the easement agreements.
We understand, we've been working with the town, and we don't anticipate any problems.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, just to be the devil's advocate, if those agreements should pick up or falter, does that change the votes which we are taking?
Yeah, I mean, we just wanted to make that statement for the, so if there are issues with the town of Brookline, there'll be issues with the project, so we just wanted to make that statement, that's
Sure.
all.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments on the pit easement? No. Bobby? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion of a petition at 5 Washington Square, owner LLC, for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement on Washington Street and Corey Road as read into record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our next item, on a petition by 5 Washington Owner LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Brighton, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, specialty pavement, streetlights, street trees, bike racks, storm drain infrastructure, and driveway curb cuts. Locations are Washington Street on its northeasterly side at address numbers 3-7, southeast of Corey Road, and Corey Road on its southeasterly side, northeast of Washington Street. This was new business on January 16th, 2020. And this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plan, Corey Road and Washington Street intersection, 3-7 Washington Street, Brighton, District, Boston, 3 sheets dated November 27th, 2019.
Okay, this is the site plan where we show the specific repairs. The existing condition is a gas station and an office building. There are numerous curb cuts. So the project will include new vertical granite curb all the way around the perimeter. There'll be one entrance to the garage level off of Story Road. We're going to have 4-foot porous paver strips on Washington and 3-foot paver strips on Story Road. There are bike racks on Washington Street. We're relocating a hydrant over here. And then we have 11 new trees, replacing streetlights and curb ramps on the corner of Washington and Corey.
So there is traffic signal work being done as part of this project, correct?
Yes.
So is that part of the petition?
No, no, it's
That's gonna
not
be
part
at
of
a
the,
later time.
correct. We'll have a full set of contract documents into BTD and Public Works for review and approval.
So that's going to come back to PIC?
No, it does not need to come back to
So it
PIC.
should be included in the vote here? You're doing streetlights, you're doing traffic signals,
yes.
it should be on the agenda item within the public hearing.
The master arm is shown on the corner.
Nope, I understand, but it should be as part of the written document.
Okay.
We can come back at a later
I mean,
time with
we
a
can just
separate petition on
amend
that
it
if we
through the
need
vote,
to.
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that,
That's the best thing, just
yeah,
clearing it.
absolutely.
You just want to make sure that we're actually doing that work.
And your name is?
Oh, Guy Busa, Howard Stein Hudson.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If you make the changes, we can put it on the Mylar prior to recording,
Okay.
just so to include all of the references to all of the traffic signal stuff.
Yeah, we can do that.
Perfect.
It'll be a little bit of a process through BTD to get them fully approved, but we can do that at that point.
Yes.
Right.
Just want to acknowledge it through this process.
Sure.
that's all.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
You earlier stated that the maintenance agreements has been settled, but now that this is the public hearing and it is the item, could you reiterate those statements made by you as to the status of the maintenance agreements?
Sure. discussed and negotiated with Chung Lee the maintenance agreement for the specific repairs, and we came to agreement, and I have signed copies with me
Wonderful,
here today.
thank you.
Other questions or comments on the specific repair plan?
Yeah, again, just to state it, just for the record, for the, it's a different petition. We just need final coordination with the town of Brookline, just in case there's issues. We just have to state it. Thank you.
Avi? Members of the public? All right. John, you can go ahead. Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion on this item, and again, we will amend it to include traffic signals as a component of the specific repair plan.
Make a motion to approve a petition by 5 Washington Square LLC for the making of specific repairs within Washington Street and Quarry Road as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our next item, on a petition by 5 Washington Square Owner LLC for the granting of an earth retention license for the installation of a temporary earth support system within Quarry Road, a public way in Brighton, located on southeasterly side, northeast of Washington Street. This was new business on January 16th, 2020, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Conceptual Temporary Excavation Support Plan, 5 Washington Street, Brighton, 3 sheets dated December 2019.
Okay, Nate Davis will present this, and for the record, I dealt with Chung Lu, and we have agreed upon a maintenance plan for the temporary earth retention system, and I have signed copies with me today.
Thank you.
Yeah, so after new business, the primary comment was to the completeness of the design. We confirmed the details with the earthwork contractor. It will be an unbraced excavation. It will be drilled soldier piles. The only portion which will go into the public way is this cross-section BB right here on Quarry Road, here at the corner of Washington. That is shown in this cross-section BB, where we have a 30-inch drilled soldier pile, 30-inch diameter drill hole with a 14-inch steel beam in there. The steel beam will cross over the property line approximately if it's a few inches, and the beam will be cut to a depth of 6 feet below the sidewalk after completion.
Okay, with the earth retention system, I'm glad you nailed that down relative to the design. We did receive the construction management plan for the project itself. I'm just wondering if the CMP that I received this week took into fact that earth retention system as you're describing.
My understanding is that it did, Guy. The CMP took into consideration the earth retention system.
Yes, yes, the CMP takes, it's this particular earth retention system, I'm sorry. And it was submitted this week, I believe.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
You are,
I'm Nate Davis from McPhail Associates.
right, so you're not the one who stamped the plans. Where on the 3 sheets of paper that has been submitted to this commission, does it state that the piles will be cut off at 6 feet? Did I miss that thing somewhere, or I'm sure?
On all sheets. It's note 3 on all sheets.
My apologies, thank you, sir.
And it's included in the agreement as well.
Thank you.
Other questions there? Denise?
Yeah, just to make the comment again, just need final coordination with the town of Brookline, so thank you. 3rd time's a charm.
Good. Thanks.
Other questions or comments? Avi? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Make a motion to approve petition by 5 Washington Square Owner LLC for the granting of an earth retention license on Quarry Road as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next item, on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants to install new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within the following public ways in Boston proper: Dern Street at the revere of 24 Beacon Street, generally between Bowden Street and Ridgeway Lane, and Bowden Street, generally at Dern Street. This was new business on January 16th, 2019. And this is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, 24 Beacon Street, Dern Street, Boston, 1 sheet dated April 2019.
Chairman and Commission members. Shelley Cullen with Axis Engineering, representing Crown Castle for this project. And when I was here before, there were a couple things, and one was, Ed, you had asked to add a city shadow handhole right at the entrance, which we did. And then Denise had given us some plans for a drain project that's proposed, that's in the works. And so we added that to the plans. We had to shift the running line a little bit, but not too much. And we were asked to have, to coordinate so that that drain work was done first. And of course, we're willing to do that.
Okay, so you've spoken with Water and Sewer, and just
I've been in
as far as their
communication with Denise, yeah.
Yeah, actually, what we were told by construction was the work for the whole street will be starting in May.
Right, right.
So, we did ask Shelley that we wanted to go in and do into the work first.
Yep.
Right, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and then just wanted to also state for the record, the last meeting, we were talking about what work we were doing on the street, and we said one of the water mains would be replaced. It's actually, we're replacing both water mains and installing a new drain, so I wanted to state for that, for the record, that that is the correct statement. We are replacing both water mains and installing a new drain.
Okay, and
Thank
do you
you.
know how much time that work would take?
Probably about 20 feet a day of water main. That's just like a rough estimate. I mean, I'm gonna just say 2 weeks off the top of my head, but that is a
weeks.
real rough estimate. I can kind of give you something later on
Okay,
in an email, and I can make sure I email everybody.
excellent,
So, thank you.
thanks.
Shelley, sorry, I don't think I asked for many things. That little pork chop island on Bowden Street, Eddie, correct me, that is right next to the building which houses the Architectural Access Board?
This right here?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Onto the right-hand side, I just want to make sure that's the pork chop which I am speaking of, right? So you're going to be cutting into the island that looks like a pork chop?
I'm sorry, I'm just seeing that now. Yes.
Right. So, Shelley, it's okay that you are cutting into it. I need you to help us to put that back to the way it needs to be.
And I would think that they maybe would try to find a way to not.
No, it's okay. You can cut it into it. I just need it to be fixed properly.
Absolutely.
Okay? So, tell whoever up your ladder that they need to come to the Public Works Department, and we will tell you how that needs to be put back.
Okay,
Okay?
absolutely.
Related to that, there is some notification of the State House accessibility
That's the- yeah.
commissioner who we will connect you with.
I'm sorry?
There's a connection to somebody who works at the State House.
Correct.
Who we will also connect you with associated with
Okay.
exactly this crossing, who wants to ensure that crosswalks remain in a state of good repair, that there remains an accessible path of travel throughout all those pieces.
Okay, great.
We'll take care of that, Shelley. Other questions or comments on this proposal? Abby? Members of the public? All right, we'll entertain a motion on this item.
Make a motion to approve the petition by Crown Castle Fiber for the granted location with lead company status and no participants to install telecommunications conduits with city shadow within the following right-of-ways as read in the record by the chair and as shown on the plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Grant of Location Plan, 24 Beacon Street, Durham Street, Boston, one sheet dated April 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Our next item is on a petition by TC Systems, Inc. for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants to install new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within the following public ways in Boston proper. Arch Street from Summer Street to address number 101, generally at Snow Place, and Summer Street generally between Arch Street and Chauncey Street. This was new business on January 16th, 2020, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan. Proposed lateral conduit placement, 101 Arch Street, Boston, 3 sheets dated April 15th, 2019.
Morning. My name is Adam Heller from Sienna Engineering Group, representing TC Systems. This is a petition to install approximately 347 feet of PVC telecommunications conduit on Arch Street. As previously said, this has been in COBUX and made it through Boston Water and Sewer. At the new business hearing 2 weeks ago, we were asked to make sure that we coordinate with the St. Anthony Shrine, which will make sure that our contractor does so, 2 weeks or even a month before construction starts. We were also asked to confirm that there was no, usable city shadow in the area, and I did confirm that with John Fleming in the map room. There's no shadow dump available along Arch Street.
Okay.
And we, since the new business hearing, we have had a contractor, bid on and essentially won the bid for this job, and they'd be ready to start as soon as the, city allows, and we may even present a hardship letter to try to get this job done within the winter moratorium, given that the weather holds up.
Sorry. Your conduit run is more closer to the entrance of the church side than the other side, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, please, hopefully the answer is yes to this question. You have contacted the church?
We have not contacted the church yet.
Why? So you're going to be chopping up right in front of their front door. You planning on doing this work in 2 minutes or a little bit longer than that? How long is it going to take you to do the work?
This work will take about 5 days.
5 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there are about 6 daily masses at that church, and you planning on disrupting the front door of the church, and you didn't bother to even talk to the church. So please don't do that again.
Okay, we will.
Because I'm going to assume that you will come in front of this commission more frequently than. Please do your outreach.
Sure, we can do outreach. I'm not sure if there's any representatives at today's public hearing. I believe the butters notifications and newspaper articles were sent out where they're able to hear about this. We're planning on. I'm sorry?
I don't read. You need to do a little bit more outreach than the standard things which we ask of you. It's the good neighborly thing.
Yep, we will certainly do that.
And as an addition to that, it will be a prerequisite of your permit, and those hours will be dictated by your butters and what goes on there.
Absolutely.
There are no handholds. This is running from one location to another. There's no installation of any new handholds, right?
Correct. This is directly from an existing manhole to the building.
Is this to serve one specific client, or is it to a switching center, or what is, what's that 101-93R?
Yeah, this bill goes directly into the 101 Arch building, which is a particular customer at that location.
Customer.
Do you know when this is, you've connected with Mark Cardarelli and Cobucks, so is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So this will happen before the resurfacing of Summer Street?
That was the intention, yes.
Okay.
We won't be there till.
All right, other questions or comments on this? Bobby? All right, members of the public? I will entertain a motion on this item, and again, it is contingent that it will also be managed through the permitting process, abutter outreach and notification coordination.
Make a petition to approve the petition by TC Systems for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants in Arch Street and Summer Street, contingent on the outreach to the church of butters prior to permitting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. Moving on to our next item on a petition by TC Systems, Inc. for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants to install new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within Medfield Street, a public way in Boston proper, generally between Park Drive and St. Mary's Street. This was new business on January 16th, 2020. This is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Proposed Conduit Placement, 448 Park Drive, Boston, 4 sheets dated August 29th, 2018.
So again, this is about 428 feet of conduit along Arch Street. At the new business hearing, we were asked to revise the running line slightly. So what we changed was, instead of having 2 pipes be stubbed out basically in the middle of the street, we decided to bring all 4 conduits, including the city shadows, directly to the pole. And we've also been in contact with representatives from the Audubon Circle Neighborhood Association, going over the details that we can at this point with them.
And so just to confirm, sorry, on your first point, the branch that was sort of ending at the Brook line, Boston line, that is, you're getting rid of that branch and bringing all 4 lines to the pole?
That's
Right.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, and and keep going with the ACNA outreach. You reached out to the Audubon Circle Neighborhood Association?
Yes, absolutely. So we provided
And so you reached out to them and what happened?
they asked us a handful of questions. Todd Lyman was on the correspondence. We, answered all of your questions as best we could, invited him to this meeting as well, and have been, committed ourselves to making sure that once we have a full schedule, that they're completely involved with, letting them know ahead of time when everything's going to be happening, exactly what parking and everything will look like, hours of operation, things like that. We also confirmed with John Fleming that there's no utilizable city shadow on this run as well.
Other questions or comments? Gabi? Members of the public? Please. Yes, whatever's easiest for you.
Yes, good morning, members of the commission. My name is Dolores Bogdanian, and Adam and Heller and I have been in contact with each other. I'm the president of the Neighborhood Association, Audubon Circle. Very nice to see you, Pa. Thank you. I don't know if our concerns to raise them now would be premature or whether it's, no? I think two of the main things that we'd be concerned about are the impact on parking and the noise that would be generated via the construction. Adam has said that they will try and stage the work so that as many resident parking spaces can be preserved for access to residents as possible. I think that would be really important. Resident parking spaces are, of course, very limited, and we lost a lot when the reconstruction work along Beacon Street. So, I would like to know that when the signs are posted saying no parking, construction vehicles, that it's clear that it's just for the day and that people will be able to park at night unless there are construction vehicles there. And hopefully that won't happen, that won't have to happen. And also I would like to hope that those resident parking spaces won't be lost in favor of the personal vehicles of construction workers. I don't know how likely that would be, but I hope that might not happen. The other thing I would like to just suggest is that the backup alarms on construction vehicles can be the most disturbing thing about construction. This is a residential area. This is a strictly residential street. And I know that over many years, I've been told, well, nothing you can do about it, OSHA requires it. Well, I have the OSHA regs. And the OSHA regs say that it's only required when there's an obstructed view to the rear, and it has to be loud enough to overcome surrounding noise, or an observer is available to instruct the driver to proceed. So you don't actually have to use the backup alarm if there's someone there to say to the driver, it's okay, you can back up. So I know that doesn't sound very practical, but I just want to say to everyone here that it's not a dead set rule, and I would like there to be some accommodation to the extent that this is a strictly residential area, and you don't have to have these things on at full volume, that they can be modified. So the other thing I would just want to mention, and Adam did follow up, was whether or not there was going to be any other work being done in the street. We saw Verizon vehicles scouting around our neighborhood, and according to Adam, they declined to participate with Sienna in putting in lines. So if that's the case, if they come before the commission, I guess it'd be a good question why they didn't take advantage of the opportunity. I have a question. What does city shadow mean?
With many of our projects, we require either the installation of conduit or actually in some cases fiber, which it is always our preference for a company looking to put in new fiber in the ground to use. So you can actually rent available conduit in city streets rather than digging into the street and laying new conduit and new fiber. In this case, they checked with our team, and there was no available conduit that they could leverage for this project.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much. And last thing is, I don't know whether or not this implicates DCR at all, because Park Drive is this DCR road, and where the interface between this work on Medfield and the work that and connecting to whatever it is that they're connecting to, which might be off of Park Drive, which is DCR. Those are the only things, like I say, minimization of the impact on parking and the use and volume of those backup alarms. So I appreciate your time very much, and also Adam's continuing availability as this project proceeds. Thank you.
I think, Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong, I think some of those issues, Dolores, will be able to address through the permitting process.
Right, and basically, as far as the first two, the length of the, it's basically we permit 100 feet availability per day. The signs that will be posted will be date-specific and time-specific, that the parking goes back to the residents after the shift, and basically the project will proceed in phases so that they're not taking all the parking in one shot. It's basically 100 feet at a time, moving down the street, and they'll track that with the signage.
Again, to echo my previous comments about the previous petition, it is always desirable that you should aspire, that you function as good neighbors when you do business, and always in a safe manner, okay? In a safe manner, but be good neighbors.
Other comments from members of the public? I'll entertain a motion on this item. Again, contingent upon your continued coordination with ACNA on this particular project.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by TC Systems for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants in Medfield Street, as read into the record by the chair, contingent upon continued outreach prior to permitting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you so much. Moving on to new business, our first item is 112 and 113 Paris Street, East Boston, specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Public Facilities Department. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Robertson Castor. I am a project manager with the City of Boston's Public Facilities Department. I am responsible for the reconstruction of the Paris Street Pool located at 113 Paris Street in East Boston. We are here before you today as looking to petition for a specific repair. We're looking to create a raised crosswalk. Since recently, the Paris Street Community Center at 112 Paris Street was completed. Now that we're doing this Paris Street Pool, we're looking to do some kind of traffic calming to help connect the two assets and create better visibility. I have with me here Steve Bernstein. This is our civil engineer on the project. He'll talk more about the technical aspects.
Perfect, thank you.
So, as Robinson said, we're just putting in a raised sidewalk between the two buildings, obviously within public way. Public way.
It's a raised crosswalk, right?
A crossway, raised crosswalk, right. And we're, can I approach the board? So, the project that we're working on is the Paris Street Pool House, which is on 113 Paris Street. And part of this whole submission will be, of course, on the sewer permit that we're filing to do this work. We're adding a raised crosswalk to this building. On the existing crosswalk, it will be blacked out on the right-hand side of this. Good comments and other things. We've added a catch basin in order to collect drainage. Catch basin will have that amount of one of the comments added. We're tying that into existing drainage of the street with the drain manhole. And another comment we had was remove a mask flashing light, which is on the Paris outside of the street. We're going to remove the mask down traffic light in the future with pedestrian crossing signage that we're adding in the future on drawing. We're repairing the sidewalks where current crosswalks are on both sides of the street, as shown by this drawing. Really expensive.
Just walk me through the signage change again. What signage is there today, and what will be there in the future?
So the signage right now is there's a residential parking space right in front of 112. We're going to relocate that sign actually further down the street, down near a handicap parking space. And then there, on the mask, there is a code zone of parking, which
is the street and or neighborhood in any part of the slow streets petition program? 1, 2, the desire to slow things down is completely complementary to what we did.
Yeah, it has gone through active transportation. There's a constantly flashing light out here that we've asked to be removed because it's not PET actuated, so it kind of flies in the face of our rapid flashing beacons because it looks like a PET has called it, but it's just always flashing. I owe you a detail of how to restore it. I don't have that, but we don't want the equipment back, so I have that for you.
Good to know. Thank you.
And the race crosswalk conforms to Public Works guidelines?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. And you will coordinate this project with new business item number 8? Yes, you have.
Yes, we've been in contact with Shelley, we exchange information.
Thank you.
Definitely make that work.
I realize we may get to this in item number 8, but does item number 8 physically cross this particular location? It does,
Yes.
okay.
It's for this project.
What? Oh, it's for the
Well,
building.
ironically, it's for the community center portion, but we are actually discussing
It's
how
the
can we
same
get it
thing,
over
right?
to
You're the-
on the other side as well.
We're connecting them via fiber and crosswalk.
Correct, yes.
All right, other questions or comments? No, Avi? All right, members of the public? All right, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, all right. Until then, and we'll get the detail that you need around the removal for that.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next item of new business is 2609 Beacon Street, Brighton, widening and relocation on a petition by the trustees of Boston College.
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Jean Levesque, and I'm the Director of Government Relations at Boston College.
I'm Jacob Murray from Waterfield Design Group, with a civil engineer on the project.
All going to be great. It's great if you can speak into the mic if you don't mind. Thank you.
Boston College is looking to improve a portion of bituminous concrete sidewalk in the northern side of Beacon Street next to their new Fieldhouse building. When they went to find out where the property line was, it was determined that the property line was actually on part of Beacon Street. So there's a small portion of pavement on Beacon Street. The curbing and the sidewalk is all on Boston College's property. And so we came in, we realized that we needed a widening and relocation for this portion of the project. And just to give you some visuals, it's not all that exciting. It is just a sidewalk maybe, but this is what it looks like heading towards the reservoir, and this is what it looks like heading towards the field house. So these top photos.
So really no change to the street, it's just making the sidewalk as part of.
Correct. There's no change in we're not changing the street. We're not touching the curb's staying where it is, but we're taking out the bituminous and then putting in the concrete. And then as Boston College got into this, we realized that although they had no improvements on the other side, there's an internal access road right around where this photo is going in that direction. They had no improvements proposed, but there was a section of sidewalk and road, once again, that was on the college property that is being used and was being used by the city, and so we thought it would be best to clear that out legally. And so the second sheet that you have goes from the internal Boston College House Road down to the Newton line, and there is sidewalk and there is
Sir,
road.
you're going a little bit fast for me. That roadway,
Yes.
the name of that roadway is?
Beacon Street?
It is still Beacon?
Yes.
Yeah, it's still Beacon.
Okay.
Yep. So it's still Beacon Street. There's an internal entrance into Boston College, and then heading that way west to the Newton line. There's no improvements that are being proposed by Boston College. They're not looking to change this. But there's a pre-existing situation where the road and sidewalk there are also on Boston College property, but are being and will continue to be used by the public.
For granting the highway easement, we thought we'd just clean it up and
Clean it all
have
up,
it.
Chief. Thanks.
have it.
that would include the street lights and all that is?
Yeah, you can see them jog around it to get the lights in.
Yes, yeah, there are two lights that are being moved slightly about 3 feet along in the improvement area.
Amy, our lights?
Yes.
Just on that,
Even more
you
now.
need to identify the existing street signage, so that's removed and reset
Okay.
within the right-of-way. Obviously, any markings that are eradicated as part of this. There's going to be a CMP developed for this, construction management plan?
Yes.
All right. When can I expect that?
I'll check with, we were waiting until we get the contractor on board, so we hope to have that in about a month.
Other questions or comments on this? Bobby? All right. Members of the public? All right, see you guys in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Our next item is East Service Road, South Boston, a street name change on a joint petition by SVF Seaport Owner LLC, WS Seaport L2 LLC, Seaport L4 Title Holder LLC, Seaport L Title Holder LLC 131-149, Seaport Primary Condominium Trust, and Seaport Square Owners Association, Inc.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Peter Kohansky from Goulston and Storrs, here on behalf of the Seaport Square Owners Association and the individual owners of property abutting East Service Road in the Seaport District. With me are Amy Prange from WS Development and John Schmidt from Niche Engineering. We are here to request a change in the name of the street that runs north-south from Seaport Boulevard to Congress Street. As you know, the part of the street north of Seaport Boulevard and going to the pier is already named Pier 4 Boulevard, and we're proposing to change East Service Road on the other side all the way to Congress Street to the same name, to Pier 4 Boulevard. So I'll pass it to Amy. She can give you a little more of the reasoning for the proposed change.
Good morning, Amy Prange.
Amy, sorry, I'm so sorry. I should have caught up with you. There's something which I need to sort out in my head, okay? And how problematic would it be if this hearing should be continued for about 4 weeks?
The new business piece?
My bad.
The public.
Yeah, rather than the public hearing in 2 weeks, if you have the public hearing in 4 weeks, how much of an awkward moment would that be for you?
So we met with Isabella DeRosa at ISD because this requires swapping the even and odd numbers on the street. She asked that this happened before Tower 3, I believe, opens on Block M, because their address has to switch from 59 East Service Road to hopefully 60 Pier 4 Boulevard, and obviously be less confusing for their number to switch before the building opens.
That would be awkward too.
And it's mid-March, I think, is what they're targeting to open the building.
Mid-March, so 4 weeks from now will be February 27th.
For new business.
No, for public hearing.
Oh, for the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
So today's NB, PB, public hearing is on February 27th. So normally we say come in 2 weeks. If I say come in 4 weeks, will that be?
I think the timing would still work out.
That's what I thought you would.
Yeah.
You might say.
This might be, sorry, Amy, but the even odd switch?
Yeah, so 100 Pier 4 exists today on the east side of the street.
Yep.
Normally you get an odd number on the east side of the street. L4's primary address is 38 to 58 East Service Road. That's what we have a building permit under.
That's the Amazon building being constructed.
Yeah, so that's the only street, that's the only building on the street that has a primary address on East Service Road. So if this were to all happen, which we really hope it does, ISD would issue a new building permit under a new address for, say, 55 Pier 4 Boulevard. So it wouldn't slow down the ISD approval processes when the building was to open. And then we would just switch all the other secondary addresses on this street, which is more of an administrative task at ISD.
Any other questions or comments on this?
Yeah, that's obviously going to affect the issuance of your certificate of occupancy, whether it be temporary or permanent?
Yeah,
You're going to be looking for a temp, or are you going to be looking for the full certificate at that time?
it'll be temp in June of '21.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep,
For Amazon.
for Amazon, yeah.
So I guess my question is, and what I've been bringing up, right now, this is owned basically as a construction easement by MassDOT and eventually turned over to the city.
Yes, because they are in the process of
So
reaching out.
what is the process that we have to go through on that?
I don't think that East Service Road is part of that transfer. Right now, we're centered on the sections of Summer and Congress, but I think Service Road has stayed pretty static throughout that process. We had some ramp work that happened over there, but there was no jurisdictional changes that needed to happen in the beginning, so we don't need to accept any of that.
But who's in charge of it now?
Give me,
East Service Road is, West Service Road is,
I mean, we need to talk to permitting.
Yep.
and
we'll see what answers.
any commission members, Administrator Gulliver mentioned straw. It is possible that he may have mentioned the need to transfer all the,
Yeah, this is not part of the transfer, but yes, we are also working on that
On to sort of,
concurrently,
you know.
so and maybe we'll get there at the same time.
Let's hope.
so punchline, you're okay with 4?
Other questions or comments?
And I'd also recommend, you probably want to get in touch with Boston Fire. If you're looking at June, I'd do it now, sooner rather than later. Let them know that there's going to be an address change, probably that you want to do that prior
Okay,
to the application for a certificate.
okay.
You can do that, but PIC also does that. We notify all public safety, just so that we're.
I'm talking internally.
But I think it would be a good idea to directly engage them, because a lot of
Sure.
times the notices that go out kind of get ignored, so.
Yeah, no, that's a good
glad
point,
to do
thank
it.
you.
Other questions or comments? Bobby? Okay. Members of the public? All right, we'll see you in 4 weeks on the 27th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving to our next item of new business, 270 Dorchester Ave, B Street, West 6th Street, South Boston, specific repairs or retention license on a set of petitions by the Freeport South Boston LLC.
Good morning to the commission. I'm Jim Heffernan. I'm part owner and in-house counsel for the Freeport South Boston LLC.
Good morning, John Schmidt with Niche Engineering.
Jim, please.
Yes, thank you. This project is a 6-story mixed-use condominium, up to 114 units with approximately 8,000 square feet retail, first floor and on the lower levels. There's also a affordable retail component where the karate studio that used to be on this site is coming back in. We have 78 parking spaces below ground and look forward to all the changes that are happening on Dot Ave and what we are kind of at the beginning of at this corridor.
I'm sorry, sir. How many housing units
114,
and how many parking spots below grade?
78.
And I'll speak to the design, but I also want to preface this that we're here seeking approval for the supportive excavation and the groundwater recharge wells in hopes of getting a foundation permit so we can begin the sheeting installation and construction. And then we'll be coming back in several months with specific repairs for the sidewalk improvements around the perimeter.
In the months to come, will you be coming for any above-ground discontinuances?
No, there will be no
So
above-
you will be completely within your footprint?
Correct.
That's correct.
So you've been through an enabling phase right now. You did the demolition of the existing structure. You're getting ready to set up the site. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. Yeah, it was demoed end of summer, and Dorenzo is the subcontractor, has I believe the sheets are ready, so they are ready and enabled to begin.
Right. So we're not gonna start any of the supportive excavation or any of the foundation work until we get this vote through, correct?
That is correct.
So in regards to the recharge wells, we're proposing 9 wells along the section of West 6th Street that goes from B Street to where it dead ends here. The wells, there will be an internal tank that will pump the water to the wells and direct the well into gravity fed
Okay, great, thanks.
That's essentially the recharge well, it's similar to what we've done everywhere else throughout the city, similar projects.
With you mentioned MassDOT and support of excavation, et cetera. You have a bridge structure very close. Any comments or any permitting needed by MassDOT?
We need licensing they actually own the small sliver of property next to the bridge and also the Hall Road tracks. We got approved for that licensing last week. The other licensing they need is seismic monitoring for the Red Line Tunnel. It's not directly under us, but we're close enough where they want that monitoring in place. That was also approved last week. I'm just waiting on the legal documentation. As far as the bridge, I believe Niche is being asked to do a design or a drawing on it, yeah.
To add to what Commissioner Hesford mentioned, so the bridge structure itself, while you are digging up, yes, the red line is of concern because of the tracks, obviously, and
Yep.
then somehow the agreements with Mass DOT, does it reflect them acknowledging or them being at peace with any vibration concerns for the structural integrity of that bridge, because it goes over, yes, Hall Road.
Yeah, it goes over Hall Road.
On anyone's
Yep,
head.
yep. No, they have been at peace with it, but I believe there needs to be a final structural drawings.
Can you make sure that, because the point I'm trying to make is, in case if they didn't catch it, it needs to be, you need to ensure that it is properly managed, okay? I'm not going to be happy with someone not having reviewed the plans correctly.
And it's to your benefit. Obviously, you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
get stopped midway into the process.
Can you please?
As far as the SOV design goes, itself, it runs the perimeter of the site, projections in the public way are only 3 to 6 inches, very minimal impact into the public way. It's going to be steel sheet piles with internal bracing. As project completion, it'll be cut down to be 6 feet below the sidewalk, which is standard practice. And with us today is Brendan O'Neill from Vail Associates, who's the designer of the sheet piling system, available for any of the hard questions.
More of a general question. How much coordination has there been with the BPDA and Plan.Av around this building?
Quite a bit. There's been a number of discussions about the future of MassDOT and the extent that we are working on that sidewalk. There's been a bit of back and forth on the design review for the exterior, and we've gotten to a comfortable place. They were okay for us moving forward to today's new business meeting. And that's been ongoing, and I think some of us are a bit in the dark to see what that final plan will ultimately look like, but we're here to be good neighbors and participate. We've met with National Development, we've met with the West Broadway Neighborhood Association, so we're all on the same page, and it's a win-win for everybody involved.
And who have you been primarily working with at the BPDA?
I believe, Jill Zick and Matt as well.
When do you expect specific repairs to show up here?
That's a great question. Because and I look at the commission to confirm this, but because we're encompassed by existing public ways and existing public sidewalks, I'm in a position that we do not need specific repairs for building permit.
Right, yeah, no, I'm just saying that, like, what's the time that we need to get you through the data?
So I will report back to you, we'll get to the construction schedule is, we'll try to get in here a year before it will be constructed, because of the same goal. Because I know that this design is still up in the air, and there's a lot of details to be worked out. So we can be patient,
Or can I be bold enough where you will find it in your heart to be as responsive as possible for our aspirations for that corridor? So you will adjust to your specific repairs irrespective of what this commission might vote right now.
100%.
Right now, that's the.
Yeah, 100%.
There you
Yeah.
Guy, do you know if you rolled in the specific repairs into the CMP document? As far as signage, markings, et cetera?
Guy Busa, Howard Sign Hudson. I'd have to look at the CMP plans, but they were completely approved by you. I believe the The CMP actually moves out part of Dot Ave, and it actually will mimic what the plan Dot Ave is looking for in terms of widened sidewalk, which is what I think you were just discussing here. So it'll, the signage will have, the end game signage on Dot Ave, B Street, and West 6 will have to be a separate document. It's not in the CMP. Because basically,
Let's make that an addendum to the CMP.
we could do that,
I want
yes.
to make sure the contractor clearly knows that he has that responsibility at
Yes.
the end of the job.
We could do that, yes.
Other questions or comments on any of these? Jim or John, anything else you guys want to cover? Avi?
No, thank you.
Members of the public? We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is 252-258 Huntington Avenue, Public Alley 821, Roxbury, pedestrian easement, specific repairs, earth retention license on a set of petitions by QMG, Huntington Limited Partnership.
Good morning. I'm Rick Latini with Howard Stein Hudson. I am here with Ife Olowo from representing the petitioner, QMG Huntington. We're also here with legal counsel Jared Eigerman from Rubin Law. He's going to give a little brief background on the job, and then I'll go into what we're here for today.
So this project on Huntington Avenue, during large project review, it had two components. The tower is a residential building on the left-hand side that you can see, and that's what we're in for today. To the right is a rehabilitation of the Huntington Theater itself. So again, large project review handled them together, but the permitting for the phasing to actually do construction are separate. And so our team is here today in order to get going on the tower. That's all I wanted to explain.
Once again, the site is on the southeast side of Huntington Ave, so we're like just south of Mass Ave by a block. You guys know where it is. We're diagonally across from Boston Symphony Hall, and as Jerry just mentioned, directly adjacent to the Huntington Theater. The site's about 4/10 of an acre. It contains two-story buildings on it now that have zero lot line and we're demolishing this project. So what you see here is we're building a 34-story tower. We'll have about 430 residential units. On the ground floor, we have about 7,500 square feet for either retail or restaurant space. And also, we're building out a 14,500 square foot space for the theater itself, including a new lobby. So we're here for a few items. We're here for specific repair, pedestrian easement, and supportive excavation. So the specific repairs will lead to an improvement of accessibility out here. Right now, these sidewalks are brick. There is a cement concrete path that's a little less than 4.5 feet wide today. We're going to make that wider based on meeting with disabilities and BPA and PIC before we came here. PIC staff, I should say. We're starting at Public Alley 820. We're not reconstructing that because it's already accessible. It's built kind of like a driveway, so this sidewalk is level across Public Alley. This building at 250 Huntington, we're not redeveloping that building. So here we have a
Who's in that building?
Do you know the owner of that building?
Where there's a restaurant, and then there are apartments above, I believe.
So here we have a 3-foot wide furnishing zone. We'll have permeable pavers and a 5-foot wide cement concrete sidewalk. Just to let you know, the cement concrete sidewalks will meet city standard. We're going to have that black beauty aggregate that you guys do in some areas in downtown Crossing Theater District. We couldn't widen it any more here because that restaurant actually has a pedestrian ramp right up against the property line that goes into the entry, so there's no room to widen this from 250. Now in front of our site, going for the next 70 feet or so, we have a 4-foot wide permeable pavers in the furnishing zone, and then we'll have an 8-foot wide cement concrete sidewalk. Half of that 8 feet will be within a pedestrian easement that we're proposing to grant to the city. When we get past the 70 feet, this actually widens up to a 12-foot wide cement concrete sidewalk. In the furnishing, I should backtrack a little bit. This project does require us to move 8 public shade streets. So So this was actually brought up, actually suggested during the Boston Civic Design Commission process, because they wanted to provide ample space for the anticipated pedestrian use and drop-off of the new theater entry. We had a public hearing with, a tree hearing with Parks on January 2nd, so they seem to be good with it. I just haven't gotten the official response in writing from them. The only items made in question is there are a few trees here they were trying to see if we could save, but due to construction, we think we have to lose them, so we're swinging to that one point to be.
Sorry, when's the tree hearing?
Oh, it's January 2nd.
Oh, was.
So they've already, yes, they're actually doing the trees in front of the theater in this park. There's a couple trees here that we want to see if we can save, but some things are going to kill them. So we just go back to them before they have the final decision. But it's not really going to affect you guys' review because it moves these things by a few feet one way or the other. It's actually more for construction reasons that we're asking for it. So as you can see here, we're proposing 4 new trees. There'll be 4-inch caliber pin oaks. They'll be supported with a soil, structural soil that goes underneath the sidewalk, and they'll have drip irrigation within the furnishing zone. There's also a sub-drain under the permeable pavers, which will tie into the building has a proposed drain service will tie into. That is under its second review with Phil Rock with Boston Water and Sewer, so we're hoping that gets approved soon too. It's also on your plan, we are showing 4 bike racks. I think we each hold 3 bikes, the specifics. And lastly, we are proposing, we're in the groundwater conservation overlay district, so we are proposing 4 recharge wells. They were installed here because they're actually in a location where they won't affect the neighbors across the basements, and it's far enough away from the green line, the tunnel is over here. Our geotechnical engineer has done a groundwater modeling analysis to make sure that it wouldn't affect anyone. So as far as the MBTA too, we met with them this Tuesday. They're in the middle of looking at our license application. I think we're going to get it within the next couple of weeks. We met with their engineering department who actually had no issues with this project. And so I'll jump to the supportive excavation.
Yeah, just catch your breath for a second. Can you put that other? So I think I should share with you some context information.
Yes.
Straight off the bat, when you're building this type of structure right next to one of the most vibration sensitive buildings in the planet, we need to make sure that the integrity, the acoustics of the Symphony Hall, because there are so many cross-cutting issues that are here, and I suspect obviously you went through the Article 80 review process. I'm not sure whether all our comments have been folded in or not, but let me share some of them stuff. So starting off with, have you ever wondered why the sidewalk looks so weird, where you've got a 3-foot brick strip and a concrete strip? Does it look like that even on the opposite side or elsewhere on Huntington Avenue? No, it does not. There's a reason why. So the building at the corner of, the smaller building at that corner, can you point it so this way the commission members?
You're talking about
that one, okay. No, that building, okay. So that building houses a whole, a disproportionate percentage of people that are disabled, okay? I don't want to say trust me, but, and they have sued the city, and there were, how can I put it, consent decree orders as to why Huntington Avenue is to look like that in terms of having a sidewalk of some width, where because the rest of Huntington Avenue, the city rebuilt with all bricks. There are maintenance agreements. So there's quite a few items that needs to be brought together, including the trees that you so lovingly want to remove, which we, the city, had to plant 3 times. Okay, so I think you need to be a little bit more familiar as to the background conditions, including the bridge, NASA over Huntington Avenue. That bridge has a fair amount of stress. Okay, so I have 2 concerns just with you digging a hole and building a long, tall building, because there's going to be vibration, not just Symphony Hall, with the bridge itself. So before we can make a ruling on your supportive excavation systems, it will be very nice if you can tell us what level of communications have you had with the Symphony Hall and whether they have approved your means and methods, because it has been extremely challenging for us to find a means and methods of rebuilding that bridge without me disturbing even the tiniest ways of the acoustics of that very beloved building.
Well,
Could you please share us?
Sure. I can assure you, during the large project review, yes, we met extensively with the Symphony, but I don't know that they've signed off specifically on this excavation, so we've got some work to do. We'll go talk to them.
That would be the very first thing. I'm sorry, from my perspective,
I understand, yeah.
location. This is a great
Yeah.
spot to do business.
Yeah.
But Symphony Hall is one of those crown jewels of this city.
Yeah, no question,
And
yeah.
without them understanding how we are managing that construction, it's not the design part. The architects and structural engineers will ensure that the building is not going to come down.
Mhm.
But to get to that point,
Okay. No, point taken.
possible, literally impossible for us to be supportive of work within that zone, not casting any judgment on the purpose of this building. But it's all about the acoustic signature. You know, these words, trust me, I had to learn this, what an acoustic signature means
Right.
inside a building that has the age bracket, okay, and the huge concerns they have over settlements.
Right. No, I do remember those issues during large project review, but now we need to get specific with them.
Very specific,
I
because
understood.
neither you nor this commission wants to be held responsible
Of
for
course.
disturbing that acoustic signature.
Of course.
Okay.
But on the other building, just a second. I wasn't aware of the litigation with the building to the east of us. I was not aware of that. We had been in discussion with the building to the west of the theater, which has a lot of, yeah.
There's a ton of issues, and
Yeah.
this may be the most awkward way for your team to learn all the drama that is in that area, but better late than never, sir.
Okay.
I'm fully aware of the accessibility issues on Huntington Ave because I've done other projects during this process where that was being brought up. So we're definitely making it better on an accessibility standpoint. We're aware of the neighbors. We are actually doing a pre-construction survey for the abutters and the T tunnel. I don't know if that includes Symphony Hall at this time, but I'll let them look into it before we show up with the public hearing. And obviously, the supportive excavation is actually, it's the usual soldier pile in lagging, but it's going to be drilled because we don't want to cause any ground movements. And we, like I said, we're actually going to monitor this during construction too. So, and that's the whole reason of the supportive excavation is so we can excavate and we're not disturbing the sidewalk, and we can be very careful with our very adjacent neighbors too, including the Huntington Theater. So we have even more sensitive people closer to us than Symphony Hall. So I think we'll be well on top of that, but certainly see if we can get some communications before we show up in hopefully 2 weeks.
And again, you bring up the word litigation. The department's received a few correspondence from attorneys representing the abutters on basically during the building phase, accessibility, a host of different issues that need to be addressed by the team. And I can forward that to you.
Please do.
And so, the construction management plan is in your office. It hasn't been reviewed.
And before I even received the construction management plan.
Yeah, nope.
I don't know how they got the construction methodology down, but whatever.
Okay.
We need to discuss that.
Yeah, it does bear emphasis that the Huntington Theater is actually going to be a tenant in this building too. So I neglected to say, we have been working very closely with them. So I'm hopeful that translates into sensitivity to the Symphony Hall as well, but we'll go talk to them for sure.
Because the Fenway Alliance have been, a close partner with the city.
Oh, yeah.
For, decades, and I'm very familiar with the Huntington Theater and their needs.
Yes.
And their needs, as important as they are, may not be in the acoustic sensitivity of the vibrations of harmonics and violins of Symphony Hall. Okay?
Understood.
And the fact that that's a very old structure that is highly susceptible for settlement. Highly susceptible. When we were trying to rebuild a sidewalk where the totality of work was remove brick, replace brick, the sidewalks on the Huntington Avenue Symphony Hall side, they were concerned even to that level.
Understood.
So I'm just trying to figure out, Chief, how to schedule a public hearing until we've had a understanding as to what Symphony Hall team members are comfortable with these folks' work.
Do you think that the sort of feedback you'd expect from the MBTA about the Green Line Tunnel, Symphony Hall, the other butters, is something you'd actually have together within 2 weeks?
I can speak for the MBTA. I can get them to send me an email at least. I don't know if I'll have the license approved in 2 weeks or not.
So you're aware of the MBTA project for the accessibility elevators that they're gonna be doing?
They did not mention that to me. I just met with them Tuesday, but they didn't mention that, so.
That's coming up.
Yep. Believe me, we have every department at the MBTA looking at us, that we're on their radar, for sure.
We want to be obviously as supportive of these amazing projects. Please don't misunderstand any of our concerns. We just want to make sure by trying to do the right thing here, we don't make things awkward somewhere else. And you can come back in 2 weeks, and if all that needs to be done is not done, you will respectfully request a continuance from us, rather than us telling you, hey, homework hasn't been done. Okay, so it's entirely up to you as to how you want to manage your resource team, as to whether you want to come 3 times, 10 times, or just come once when the work is done. It's completely yours, sir.
Understood. I mean, I have to rely on the client. He feels confident he can work it out in 2 weeks, but if we can't, we'll respectfully ask for a continuance, yeah. We have no interest in wasting the commission's time.
I'm more concerned of your time, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We've talked about the general pieces, but Rick, can you just walk us through the specifics of the pet easement and a little bit of compares, but.
It didn't seem that exciting compared to the other stuff, but, actually, well, what it is now is the sidewalk's about 7 foot 2 inches now, so we're kind of making 12 feet. So basically, it's about a 4 inch slot in front of our site, which is 258 Huntington Ave, so it's about 615 square feet. This is all brought about because we got a review letter from this building that wanted to get to 12 feet for as much as this portion as it could, so that's how it came about.
Sorry, this. Okay. Great. Perfect, thank you.
I did check, there's no handicap parking spots, and it's one to check.
All right, and then, so the entirety of this physical repair plan is there. Is there any other things you want to cover with your potential license?
Nope, once again, we are fixing this out in front of Huntington Theater as well. Doesn't have a permit, we'll pay her.
And then you mentioned, I think, within the furnishing zone, changing the paver detail. Is that right? So something that we use in downtown Crossing.
The paver detail, yeah, I can find out, I think we're gonna use a gray color, I will find out the color and see if that matches.
Make sure.
Yeah, so again, a lot of homework, Rick, has to be done. When the city rebuilt Huntington Avenue, not just the roadway, but the T, there was a lot of coordination between the Fenway Alliance, Masco, the universities as to a common vocabulary.
Yes.
And they may want to not disturb that common vocabulary, or this is some years back, not yesterday, some years back. So I'm not sure whether the desire has changed, but you just need to demonstrate to us that you have reached out to Masco, Fenway Alliance, and the appropriate people within those agencies who have some knowledge of the history is in agreement with this standalone project.
Again, I do know that during Article 80, which took about 3 years, I think, we did do that, but it's time to talk to them again. That's exactly right. I agree. Yeah,
So
we will refresh.
the greatness which you are trying to create here is not dwarfed or shadowed by these side conversations.
Of course.
Other elements, Rick, you want to go through?
No, I think I covered it all, just reach out to all of them with the papers and then we could give legal items, and of course, we're maintaining all the so.
Other questions or comments for the team?
This, have we talked about the earth retention system, or is that coming up?
Well, actually, I briefly mentioned it, I mean, it doesn't,
So my question would be, it looks like your temporary supportive excavation limits is, on Huntington Avenue, is like 5 to 8 feet from the structure. Why is it so far out? That's gonna be a concern during construction management.
Haley Knowledge Act is supposed to be.
And the two things, one is constructability, dealing with pedestrians and vehicular traffic with that offset. Additionally, we have our interconnect for traffic signal and the street lighting that runs in that area. we need some more information on what you're gonna be doing with that.
Yeah, well, we do have a section there with utilities, so we're not cutting, we're not cutting utilities off, but I'll have them answer. I don't have them, I know they have another.
So when you drive the pile,
Well,
you gotta take-
it'll be drilled, so.
Right.
Because we have sensitivity issues, but.
So, sir, these thoughts which we are trying to share with you, much of it, some of it, hopefully I'll get it correct, a fair amount of it is related to what happens during construction, okay? So there are three major assets in the area: Symphony Hall, a bridge which the city owns that is in a challenging situation, and I hate when things fall down on anyone's head, and I can't shut Huntington Avenue down.
Right.
Okay? That would be awkward because I can't bring all of that traffic. So your vibration shouldn't disturb that. So your team needs to certify to me that your means and methods is going to hold the city structures harmless. So that needs to be done for the three primary elements: the MBTA system, Symphony Hall, and our bridges.
Crystal
Plus
clear,
the
yeah.
abutting buildings, etc., etc. Okay? So they have a little bit of homework to do, sir.
Oh, yes, indeed. Thank you.
Ron, just to be clear, we're not just talking about the bridge, but the actual sort of wall supporting sort of the underpass itself.
Yes, the underpass,
Yeah,
the structures.
I'm familiar, yep. Mhm.
Other questions or comments?
Well, we've got quite a lot to do, we understand.
Yeah, yeah. Some
Understood.
homework to be done.
Avi? All right, members of the public? All right. 2 weeks is your preference?
I'll have a contact very soon. I have to confer with the team.
Well, yeah, make it 2 weeks, because if worse comes to worse, I'll make a call and just, and have it continue without wasting anyone's time if it doesn't work out, if you don't mind.
That's fine, rather than wasting lots of your
No,
resource
no,
time.
we will not come unprepared, believe me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, our next item is 603 Dorchester Ave, Boston Street, South Boston, pedestrian easements with repairs on a set of petitions by 2-6 Boston Street LLC.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is David Freed. I'm an architect at Chu & Company, and to my left is Chris Roach. He's the developer of the project at 603 Dorchester Ave. It's a transit-oriented development between Boston Street and Dorchester Avenue at Andrew Square. We're here today to seek approval for the installation of an underground transformer vault by Eversource, to add a new tree well and grate, to reconfigure an existing tree well and grate, repair an existing curb cut, and do a couple miscellaneous sidewalk repairs.
All right. You want to walk, maybe starting with
Sir,
the pet easement?
if it is okay with you for the public hearing at least, it would be very nice if you can have, give us a schematic of what your project looks like.
Yes, I
Because
will.
right now, it is difficult for me to translate what you may have said to a visual interpretation of what your project looks like and how that impacts the surrounding area.
Yes, I apologize. I was,
it's
I was
okay.
misinformed about
Okay?
the process
So this way,
this morning.
when commission members are trying to match what we are showing on a two-dimensional plan, we can actually see what your project looks like.
Yes.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you. So we're seeking to install an underground transformer vault in a section of city-owned land in front of our parcel that's situated between the existing planter and the front of our building. And then the new tree well is directly north of that on Dorchester Avenue. Moving east towards our rear lot line is an existing tree well that's going to be reconfigured so that will provide a 5-foot continuous path, clear path between the face of the building and the edge of the tree grate for accessibility.
Sarah, are you okay with, sorry, I have no manners. If you could introduce yourself.
Sarah Leong with the City of Boston's Disabilities Commission. So we've talked over the past few days with the project team, and the current plans reflect our comments. However, we did want confirmation from the Parks Department as one of the conditions is not a typical condition for a tree pit. Thank you. I'm sorry?
the 2x2 grade?
Correct.
Yes.
The picture, so just help me, this is a housing, a project to support residential units?
Yes, it's a new 24-unit
24 units?
studio, one-bedroom development.
How many floors, sir?
6 stories.
Right, so
with the
it's
commercial
going
space.
so the adjacent property,
Yep.
because this is at a bull nose,
Yep.
how many stories does the adjacent property have?
I believe it's 3.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so this is, I think if my memory serves me correctly, it may be a 3-story neighborhood, or at least the next few buildings.
Yes.
And yours is going to be a 6-story.
Yes.
Okay, so it will be so useful for us to understand that massing and
Yep.
schematics and understanding the relocation of the trees and all the activity that is going to come to this corner. And we appreciate you making it come alive. Thank you, sir. But we just want to make sure that all that needs to be done in a fair sense is being done.
So what you show for your pet easement takes you up to the columns, and then what you label the pet easement on in the specific repair shows a pet easement between the columns and the building face.
Yeah, the pedestrian easement actually does go up to the storefront. That was the intent.
Okay, then the pet easement plan has to change because it just shows to the face of the columns.
Or it's mislabeled. I'll clarify that. Yeah.
Something's got to change.
Yes. Yep.
Picture would have been so useful.
Yes. Yeah.
So just walking through the sequence, so in order to be able to have an accessible path of travel on the east side, you need to have a 2x2 tree pit on the southern tree, and that has not been approved by the Parks Department, is that right? Sorry, you have a tree that has a non-traditional tree pit that you're showing?
Yeah, we'll have to get that approved by the Parks Department, yes.
Or that tree needs to be adjusted. When we discuss trees, sir,
Yeah.
it will be good for us to understand the caliper of the tree. Caliper is the
Yep.
definition of how fat the tree is. Okay,
Yep.
so because here it says existing 6-foot tree, I am not sure. Like sometimes you could read is fat. So help us to get a sense of the age of this tree or the matureness of this tree. If it needs to be moved
Yep.
to adjust the ADA, it may be better rather than putting a 2x2 tree pit that might end up killing the tree.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I
Since
understand.
you are moving one of the trees, I believe you
Yep.
have permission to move one tree, so maybe and you are the engineer, right, sir?
The architect.
You're the architect.
Yes.
And you, sir, sorry.
I'm the owner, the developer.
Okay, so if you're engineer,
CEC.
if they can give you some guidance on what the options are, so that way the gentleman's needs can be met while meeting the city's needs.
Yes, of course.
So I have approved a construction management plan for this back in October.
Correct.
I received a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, a lot of
What's the-
community support.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
A
what's
lot of
the-
eagerness to get the project approved and done.
Right, so what's the schedule now? I thought this would have been.
We're waiting on this, we're waiting on the PIC hearing. So there's no,
Waiting on the PIC hearing.
correct, exactly. Yeah, there's no point in demoing anything or moving forward unless we have an easement. So that's the status. Yeah.
I wish I would have known that. But you do have an approved construction management plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is ready to go. We just need to get approval on the transformer vault and these other items.
You are being held up by this.
I didn't state I was being held up. What I stated was that I think it's within the project's best interest to wait until the easement is approved before any demolition or any construction begins. I think that's all.
Right, we'll try and expedite as soon as you.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Other questions or comments?
Should Eversource be a petitioner?
Yeah.
They should be a co-petitioner.
Or is that a separate petition, or is that
They can co-petition on this
Co-petition,
with
yes.
the specific repair plan. But you're not going to own or maintain that transformer, so the owner and the person who will needs to co-petition.
And presumably as part of that, we'd want as specific repairs to understand the actual surface of the transformer to make sure it's like,
Yeah, so
it's
I mean,
standard with our.
these guys have been through the ringer with this transformer, so we're
Yeah.
all set. It's just that you can't ask for and to build an asset for somebody else, is essentially it. So that we just need their signature on your petition.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Bobby? Members of the public? All right, see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Our next item is Blue Hill Avenue, Havelock Street, Dorchester, granted location on a petition by TC Systems, Inc.
Hello again.
Welcome back.
So TC Systems is petitioning for lead company status on this conduit installation of approximately 348 feet of PVC conduit and one small handhole and one 4x4x4 manhole. This would start at an existing utility pole in the sidewalk of Havelock Street to a point where it reaches the proposed 4x4x4 manhole on Blue Hill Ave, approximately 273 feet away, and then it will continue across Blue Hill Ave about 75 feet to a proposed handhole. We would be looking to do this ahead of the upcoming Blue Hill Avenue resurfacing, and it has also, of course, been loaded into GoBucks.
Just remind me, TC Systems, the letter T and C stand for?
Teleport Communications.
So it's teleport project.
Yeah, the operating entity name in Massachusetts
for
it's really AT&T LNS.
That's okay.
But that's the operating entity.
But in a nutshell, this is to serve one specific client?
Yes,
Right.
the way that the project leaves off with the handhole would allow us to, also in the future branch off and serve other clients as well. But
Here's where I'm getting to, because I'm going to assume that you will come to us in the future with more work of this nature. The chopping of our streets is wearing me thin, okay? The amount of digging that is being done, whether it is for one person or 200 people, I mean, it matters.
Sure.
So can you also give some consideration whether a micro trenching means can be done when you, let me make sure.
You don't want microtrenching here because we're about to repave Blue Hill Avenue.
And here you have no,
The deeper they are, the better we are.
True, but what's the word?
There's no participants, right?
Thank you, sir. No participants, so for one person. But
we're not
are we going to?
Well, we're going to lock down Blue Hill Ave, so everybody's going to be out of there when
5 years
it
after
becomes
this year.
guaranteed.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Do your thing and hold your peace. Okay.
Sure. So we just submitted a new set of plans that will more than likely eventually bring to the PAC to Boston Water and Sewer that did show a micro trench where we could. So that has definitely been considered.
And I do appreciate all the things which you are doing to minimize the collateral damage, like the fact that you are going in the least destructive. So
Yes.
we do appreciate all those steps which you are taking.
Yeah, just want to make a comment. We are proposing to cross some of our drain laterals. We don't know the depths of those laterals, so just be aware that they're, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Proposed handhole by others, what is that?
So since that original plan went to Water and Sewer, the installation of that handhole has since become our responsibility. So on the newest edition of the plans, which was provided on just a small scale plan, and it's also what we have printed here shows us installing that handle. It's just a difference in who was hiring the contractor. The plan just changed, so.
What do you mean different contractor?
Like the entity tasked with installing that last piece has gone through just a difference in plan. Originally, when
It's not
this
the same
project was
contractor for all this work?
no, this absolutely is. Originally, we thought that there would be the project would be in two phases, and someone else would be doing that smaller piece. It has since shifted to be, we would do all of this. So I believe if you're looking at the original water and sewer large print, it says by others, but the latest edition of the plan from this year, we will be doing, all of the conduit and the manhole and the handhole.
And you're going to the light pole on the corner of Ansel Road?
Yeah, just at the base of that light pole, yes.
This is a DAS antenna?
Whoever is taking over after this installation will be bringing fiber to a antenna, yes.
Who's doing the electrical? Who's doing the service?
The electrical?
Service connect, the power?
I believe it's Extenet.
You're right. So how come this is all split up between three entities for one install?
I cannot explain that.
I can't understand it.
My understanding is that Extenet and the city have had.
Yeah, but I got Extenet,
coordination.
now I got you, you're doing part of it. Who owns this?
The conduit would be owned by Local Network Services, which is TC Systems, and my understanding is that the antenna itself will be owned by Mobility, which is just a different, sub-entity of AT&T.
So in essence, there's three entities here.
We should
Legally
charge for the
speaking.
space.
I mean, this is not the intent of this body, is basically to basically have one petitioner, basically one installation, one owner, because somebody digs up the conduit, oh, that's not us, that's Joe Schmo. No, that's not the way it works.
I understand.
So I think we need to get some more clarification on these build-outs that are starting to come up right now, because it's very ambiguous.
Fragmented.
Exactly.
It's a little bit awkward for us to understand who is on for space, let alone whether we are playing baseball sometimes.
Sure, I understand.
And again, to Pyra's point also, is we're gonna have multiple digs out here. Instead of getting it done one time, you're gonna have one person installing the conduit, you're gonna have another person installing the power, you're gonna have another person installing the light bulb, and we're gonna have this roadway tied up for months.
And when you're used to us approving something in a less consequential area, I'm not saying that any part of Boston, and imagine doing business like that right in front of City Hall, where you have three entities, one after the other, and you might think that it is okay because we approved one. And then others here, we did that, so they think it is okay.
Sure.
God bless you.
So the DAS antenna is by Mobility, the electrical work is by Extenet, and the fiber work is by TC Systems.
That's as much as we know. I'll leave it at that.
I just think that we need to get some further clarification on what this build-out is and who's doing what, and who's responsible for what, because it puts the city in bad light, you know? If something happens out there, who do we go to?
I understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking about the public hearing in 2 weeks, do you know if Mobility has requested this, if they've requested the poll, right? And they've been approved for the poll?
Yes.
All right, if you can just make sure that we have that, just because that'll help at least.
Sure. We almost should be a co-petitioner, all these three, as a one build-out with three entities.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I can see if they're able to coordinate with us and come, to one hearing with the full plan.
Also, the antenna won't make the repaving if they don't show up. So, like, you're gonna put this stuff in and then we're not gonna let them dig electric to the pole or replace the pole.
Yeah, sure. Or they're running it the wrong way down Havelock, or yeah, exactly.
We'll go a mile out of our way.
Right. All right. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? No, Avi? Members of the public? Good. All right, we will see you in 2 weeks on this one. And if we can coordinate with Avi and with Town around co-petitioning.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Our next item is 112 Paris Street, Gove Street, East Boston, granted location on petition by Crown Council.
Shelley Cullen with Axis Engineering, representing Crown Castle. And this was a lead company petition with no participants. And it is about 600 feet, starting on Gove Street, intercepting an existing Crown Castle conduit. And then we're proposing microtrench for this job.
And just for orientation, where is the raised crosswalk within this?
Shelley, you
Okay,
may want
it
to
is,
show it
it's actually right, it's at the turn here, and I did speak
Okay.
with them, and we will coordinate. And it's gonna make sense for us to go in first.
Okay.
And that's actually like right here.
Okay.
So we're going over here, and he also wants to talk to us about, bringing service across the street.
So Shelley, now here's trying to protect your asset. Make sure that your design engineers are understanding of the construction means and methods that is going to be used by the contractors who are going to build the raised crosswalk.
Okay.
Okay? Because their means and method shouldn't peel your micro trench off. Meaning while trying to build that, they shouldn't dig it up. So maybe you may need a deeper depth while you are going through the zone of the raised crosswalk.
Good
Otherwise,
point.
someone's going to pull it out.
Good point.
Both on Gove and on Terrace, if there is value in sort of seeing whether the handholds should actually be in the sidewalk rather than in the roadway.
This is actually a 3x3.
Oh, got it. Oh, sorry, right, the Gove Street one and then the Paris Street one is also.
Yeah, they're all 3x3. And I did talk to the engineer who designed this to see if they were able to eliminate any of those handholds, and they were not. They need those for, actually in one case to reduce it from the conventional trench down to the micro trench, and they need it for splice points and pull points because of the length of this. They were able to keep it fairly close to the curb, though.
Other questions or comments on this? Bobby? Members of the public? All right, see you in 2 weeks on this one?
2 weeks?
2 weeks?
Yes, great.
Okay. All right, our next item is Seaver Street, Humboldt Ave, Brookledge Street, Roxbury, grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle.
So again, Shelley Cullen, Axis Engineering for Crown Castle. And this is another lead company project that, with no participants. And it's about 463 feet, and it is proposed as a micro trench. This is for the Boston Housing Authority.
Shelley, Seaver Street was recently, when I say recently, within the last few years, it was built, Seaver Street.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus on the side of the Franklin Park, yeah, I think Franklin Park side. I'm not sure whether you can dig on that side. So you may want to tell your engineers to revisit this design because the conflicting areas, the pick up point on Seaver Street, the left-hand most side of your plans, you want to recheck. And I'm not sure whether the homework has been done correctly here because per our guaranteed rules, the cost incurred for that little micro trench will be significant. Okay? And if you need to know what the heck I'm saying, just go take a look at Seaver Street and ask yourself whether the city would encourage a cut across a brand new pavement. Okay? For one plant with no participants.
I understand. I know that they did do a lot of research to try to find any alternatives. They looked at Eversource, they looked at Verizon, and they do have an existing handhole, as you see on the opposite side of Seaver. So this was the only thing that they were able to.
And price of doing business is business.
Right,
Okay?
right.
So this was for BHA?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not for it's connecting the node that is in Franklin Park to the building that is located off of Hillsborough Street?
Honestly,
Okay.
I'm not sure. It's going from aerial and then bringing it over to the underground. Do you know when they guarantee, it should have come up in COBUGS, so I'll find out. All right.
Now, keep in mind that a few other people have chopped up that street. That doesn't mean that a fifth person needs to chop it. You know, maybe there will be enough money so I can rebuild that street again. But just have your engineers check that stuff, because it makes it awkward for us to discover that you are putting stuff to a guaranteed street. Hopefully I'm wrong on all of this stuff. Maybe the moratorium, the 5 years went last week, okay, and then you are in the clear.
All right, I'll check.
Okay. But it is always useful when you bring it to our attention versus us finding it.
I will look into that and find out when that moratorium ended, or hopefully ended.
Other questions or comments on this one?
Yeah, again, just a general comment, this area, we don't have any depth information for our drain laterals, just to be aware that they're, thank you.
Okay, I'll do that.
We'll see you in 2 weeks on this one.
Excellent, thank you.
And our final item of new business is 272 Friend Street, Boston proper, a grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle.
Shelley Cullen, Access Engineering for Crown Castle. And this one again, lead company, no participants.
Actually, I'm in the process of rebuilding that street right now.
Okay,
So I'm at a loss as to how your design engineers who are putting these plans together. And one of these days, Shelly, let me have a nice day, and I'd like to actually speak to the person who put these plans together, whether he or she actually walked the site to understand that they are proposing a set of plans that is under construction. Friend Street is under construction. So you know what, how that bothers me, Shelly? Because then it makes me wonder whether your design engineers actually walk the site to get a sense of what is out there, or whether this theoretical exercise is being done within the confinements of an office.
I can't imagine that they haven't, because they have to, do the site survey for the building to see where they come in.
So when did they do that? 3 years ago or recently?
I don't-
And that's the part.
Okay, I
So if you
don't
could
know.
just ask them to go take a look at this street.
Hmm?
Because when we put these projects for construction, I certify that no one else is going to play in this area. So what may need to happen, and Abby, if you can help us to find out at what level is that roadway, because if you can sort of sneak this work very quickly so that you all, this is micro-trenching again.
This one is not.
Okay, so that could be really a challenge because utilities may have been adjusted, okay, because there was a grading issue on Friend Street. That's one of the reasons. So stores had to move to the left and to the right. So I'm not sure whether your plans as presented conforms to the reconstruction plans which the city has put out.
This is Zach's budget. So you should definitely make sure that between now and the public hearing to connect with ours.
Who, Abby? Okay.
Get the specifics of them.
Yeah, I mean, this baby's under.
Because this stuff comes up when they put it in COBUGS as well, so I would think that,
At least that's the working hypothesis.
okay. So I'll talk to you about this and see where this project, the city's
Yes,
project is
connect
going.
with Mr. Bossman. Sure. All of this.
Other questions or comments? Members of the public? All right. See you in 2 weeks on
2
this, and
weeks.
just connect with, through Avi, the Public Works team. Great.
Thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.